It's the 1st of October, 2006. London Road, Ipswich. 48-year-old forklift truck driver Steve Wright moved into a flat in the middle of Ipswich's red light district. In only a matter of months, Steve was known as a common client of the girls that surrounded his road. Unfortunately, he would keep visiting, but the women that serviced him were getting a lot more than they thought they would be paid for. Oh, hey. Hello, fellow flesh and bone. That's what we're... Hello, fellow flesh and bone. That is what we are going with for the intro. Welcome back to another video. As you can see, I'm not in my normal... Well, I say normal. I am not in the location I was in last time. That is because I am in Ipswich. I am actually in Suffolk. No, I will not be strangling people. I'm actually here because of some personal kind of matters with university and stuff. I don't go uni here, but I'm here for that reason. So I thought, why not a better time to cover? There's some crazy fucking dog outside. So I thought, why not a better time to cover the Suffolk Strangler, a killer who was actually in this location. Yeah, so Steve Wright, the Suffolk Strangler, wasn't actually too far from here, and his victims' locations of where he dumped them weren't actually all that far as well. So I thought, what a perfect person to cover in this time. I also have got this new microphone, so let me know if it's yay or nay. It kind of gives me something to do with my hands as well, so I like it. Hopefully you guys like it as well. So without further ado, let's continue on to the main part of this video. Steve Wright, also known as the Suffolk Strangler, was a serial killer that murdered 5 women in 2006. They were all prostitutes and had all been asphyxiated. Although Steve could be seen as a power/control killer, he is a hedonistic killer, as this was for the thrill. Steve is confirmed of killing 5, but is suspected of 8, and was only active for a year. All of the bodies were discovered in 2006, and in 6 weeks, 5 girls had disappeared from the red light district. All those 5 girls were found in only 10 days. Steve Wright was born in the Norfolk village of Erpingham, so you know we're in England with a village name like that, on the 24th of April 1958. He was the second of 4 children, with his mother Patricia being a veterinary nurse and his father Conrad being a military policeman. Steve's younger half-brother Keith said they had a quiet life when they were younger. They were a close family, apart from the small fights that Steve had with his stepmother. Steve's biological mother had left home in 1965 when he was 6, as custody was granted to Conrad and his parents divorced in 1978. His father raised the family and was very strict as he was in the services, and made sure Steve would always stay in line. That clearly didn't work. His younger life was full of him constantly moving around the country, as his father was dispatched to different parts of the UK. Steve suffered physical and mental abuse, which his older brother described as about as bad as it can get. Cheers, Conrad. Could have just let Patricia look after him, but... Steve was apparently good at putting on an easygoing persona and talking the talk, said by Professor Craig Jones, who is a criminal psychologist. Wright left school at the age of 16 in 1974 with no qualifications, and soon afterwards joined the Merchant Navy, becoming a chef on ferries sailing from Felixstowe, Suffolk. In 1978, at age 20, he married Angela O'Donovan in Milford Haven, Pembrokeshire, Wales. Forgive me about these pronunciations. These are English places, so you can understand. Also, at age 20, I mean, age 20, go get them, Tiger. I mean, not in that way, but, you know. They had a son, Michael, but the couple separated in 1987 and later divorced. L. Steve would join the crew of the Queen Elizabeth II, working as a steward and travelling the world. This is where he would learn how to be social and talk to women, and was reportedly very helpful amongst the crew and to the passengers. As they would travel around the world, Steve would commonly indulge with women who would do the naughty illegally. They are like the women in GTA that you would pay for when you're in the car, and then you would be terrified that your mum would walk in and scream at you to get off the game and go on a whole rant at you. Wright would divorce his wife and return to England in 1987. His second marriage was to Diane Castle at Braintree, Essex. Register Office in August 1987. They divorced in July 1988 while he was a pub landlord in Norwich. Steve was well known with the sex workers up in Norwich for being a regular as well as for his behaviour. Some knew him as the soldier as he wore camo, but he was also known to wear high heels, a tight skirt and a wig when walking around the streets. Steve had a history of violence towards women. Steve would beat Diane, and when she would get back to the boat late, he would accuse her of cheating, even though he would openly flirt with women in front of her. She would see more of his dark side when he refused to let her leave the cabin. One time, when the ship arrived in Hawaii, Steve suggested she went sightseeing with some of her co-workers. Diane jumped at the chance, but upon returning, she realised that she had made a huge mistake. She returned to a note accusing her of cheating on him, and inside was her uniform torn to shreds. Steve told her, "You like Hawaii so much, I thought I would make you some grass skirts." Clearly, as well as being a steward, he was also a comedian on the sidelines. After doing this, he would lunge at her with a knife, stabbing the door behind her. Beating partners is something seen in other serial killers, as well as men who feel inadequate. After leaving Diane and moving to Kent, he found another partner, Sarah Whiteley. Together, they moved to Plumstead in East London. In 1992, when Wright was 34, they welcomed a daughter into the world. In the same year, Steve saw his mother Patricia again for the first time in 3 decades. This went well at the meeting, but Steve exploded at her over a voice message. Steve was clearly ahead of his time here, not actually doing shit in person. Steve was a person who tried to live as someone he wasn't and was out trying to find excitement, also known as the average American in Cali. He found his excitement in prostitution and gambling. This meant he built up debts, and in the early 2000s, he had acquired £40,000 of debt, also known as the wealthiest man in Vegas. Steve would come out onto the streets for women as it was cheaper than doing it in a massage or sauna establishments that were actually brothels behind closed doors. Later that same year, Wright would reach the bottom of his life and try to through carbon monoxide poisoning after writing a letter to Sarah telling her that he missed his son and couldn't cope with his life. He was found by police and taken to the hospital and was revived. This would not be the first time Steve had done this, later trying to overdose on pills. Clearly, killing takes a couple tries to get it right. Wright then returned to Felixstowe, where he grew up and where his father lived with his stepmom. His younger half-brother reported he got more and more silent at this point and would keep to himself a lot. In the spring of 2000, he got a job as a ticket seller at a bingo hall. Through this job, he met Pamela Wright. No relation. Pamela was 10 years older and seemed to be almost a mother figure to Steve. Steve out here looking for a dummy mommy. Can't blame him. This was clearly something Steve had needed since his own mother left at such a young age. Pamela would cook him homemade meals and he would find work as a driver and a fixer at the local golf club. However, in 2003, Steve was caught stealing money from the arcade where he worked. He moved on from that job, but once again was caught stealing £40 from his new job at a hotel. Come on, Steve. I mean, third time's a charm. The hotel pressed charges and he was arrested. This is something that will prove important later. Steve's jealous side would come out again in his new relationship, bombarding her with calls every time she would go out with friends. He even told her he would off himself if she left him. Real classy, Steve. By 2004, big up 2004, the couple moved to Ipswich. This was the same year Pamela got a change of job at a call centre where she would work night shifts and Steve would work all day as a forklift driver. Well, at least he's forklift certified. That's one green flag. This meant Steve would work the day, then go and drop off Pamela for her night shift, and then he could go out and live his fantasies while she was gone and get back in bed before she returned. So this has to be the worst timing because I walked all the way here to London Road where Steve Wright lived, and it is raining, like horribly raining. But yeah, I am currently on London Road. This is where Steve Wright lived, and in the surrounding area around this road he would pick up his victims. And yeah, so as you can see, there you go, London Road. Yeah, so Steve lived on this road. I don't exactly know where, but he lived on this road, and he would go out and scout the neighbouring streets of Ipswich to find his 5 victims. But yeah, as you can see, I'm here at London Road. Worst time of day. Well, I say worst time of day, it's always raining in England, but yes, it's raining. But yeah, this is London Road, and yeah. Before we go into Steve's actual major crimes and the ones he was arrested for, it is reported that former naughty worker Linda St. Clair said that Wright attacked her in the late 1980s. On the 30th of October 2006, in earnest, 19-year-old Tanya Nicole, who went by Chantel on the streets, went missing, and 2 days later was reported missing by her mum. She went into town after 11 p.m. to work as an escort, as she was a heroin addict and worked the street to pay for it. The same night Tanya got into Wright's car, neighbours heard Steve doing the laundry in the dead of night, and others saw Steve cleaning and vacuuming his car in the middle of the night. She got into Steve's car and wasn't seen again. 2 weeks later, on the 15th of November, 25-year-old Gemma Adams was reported missing. Gemma was also last seen in the area surrounding London Road. Her boyfriend had dropped her off to do the work, expecting to see her after. However, that never happened. Authorities were still trying to find evidence, but were struggling as these women would normally go off with clients. Gemma Adams' body was found 2 weeks later, face down in a creek. Police initially didn't know who it was because of how long she was in that creek. Once Gemma was discovered, media coverage picked up and became very interested. Josh Warwick, local crime reporter, was assigned to the case. Josh Warwick sounds like he should be and there's a siren outside. He's back! As I was saying, Josh Warwick sounds like he should be covering news down in Hogwarts. Due to this body being discovered, the police searched the rest of the river and had discovered the body of Tanya downstream. She had been missing for nearly 6 weeks at this point, and due to this uncovery, the police believed they were looking for one man. With that out the way, let's hand it over to Drained, who is currently up in Copdock reporting this old news. Take it away, Drained. So I am in Copdock right now. You're going to have to forgive me, I'm by a main road, so if there's a lot of cuts, that's why. But yes, I'm in Copdock. As you can see here, I'm in Copdock. This is where the body of Tanya Nicol was discovered, in a stream that way, I'm pretty sure. But yes, this is where the body of Tanya Nicol was discovered, the first victim. She was 19 and discovered on December 8th of 2006, just almost a week after Gemma Adams. So yeah, this is probably the road. This is London Road, I'm pretty sure. So this is the road he would have drove down, probably around here to dump the body, or it was probably up by Hintlesham where Gemma's was discovered and then flowed downstream near Copdock. This is Copdock. This is where Tanya Nicol, the first victim, was located. So I was just walking to Hintlesham for the location of Gemma's body, but as I was walking, I found, I don't know if you can see that, I found this stream here. Yeah, I found this little stream and it goes through, and just looking at Google Maps, it seems to go 5-10 minutes away from Copdock. So I don't actually know, but this is only 10 minutes away from Hintlesham. So I don't know, I'm either showing you a random stream, a little river bit, and if that's the case, that's a pretty cool river. Well, it's not a river, it's a stream, but it's a pretty cool stream. But if this was the body of water where Gemma and Tanya were found, that is also pretty cool. So yeah, I don't know if that is actually the body of water that goes down to where they were found, but that is possibly it. So now I am in Hintlesham. I'm going to walk this way to get away from that road because I've tried to record so many times and it is so fucking busy. So we're walking this way. But yes, Hintlesham was where the second victim, Gemma Adams, was located. She was actually located first on the 2nd of December 2006. Gemma was 25 and was the first one to be discovered, which led the police to discover the first victim, Tanya, up in Copdock. So yes, Gemma was discovered around this area in a body of water, and it took the police a little while to figure out who she actually was due to the water and the damage to her body. But yes, she was found up here in Hintlesham, and then which led to the discovery of Tanya, which then led police to realise that they were looking for one man. So yes, that's the first two victims. Let's continue.
2 days after finding Tanya, a motorcyclist had called the police after finding a body. Third victim, Annalie Alderton, was discovered and revealed due to a tattoo on her body. The body was naked and laid on display in a cruciform position. This is striking, as Steve was not a religious man. The FBI's method of classing serial killer crime scenes used two terms to describe a scene like this, where a victim's body is manipulated in a particular way by the killer. If the alterations to the body are made to fulfill the fantasy of the attacker or to send a message, they are known as posing. However, if the alterations are made to throw investigators off, this term is staging. As Steve had no religious upbringing or was religious in any kind of way, he may have done this to make investigators think her murder was unrelated to Tanya or Gemma's in any way. Hence, Tanya being displayed on the opposite side of Ipswich and being on dry land as opposed to water. She was very clean, and it was clear it took some time to lay her out. Unlike the other two, Annalie was not reported missing. Annalie was living in Colchester with her boyfriend, who didn't report her as going away for periods of time wasn't uncommon. She told him she was going to leave to see her mother, then give her son some Christmas presents in Harwich. This meant she had to get the train, and police found footage of her on the train coming back from Harwich. This CCTV meant that they could see what she was wearing and what she had before she went missing. Her autopsy revealed to the police that she was asphyxiated to death. 24 hours after finding Annalie, detectives were struck by a double discovery. Another naughty worker, Paula Clennell, had been reported missing by her boyfriend, who was concerned due to what was going on. Paula, too, was a mother and turned to drugs to help her cope through motherhood. Like Tanya and Annalie, Paula was addicted to heroin, and when social workers found out, they took her children. Paula took up work in the streets to try and save up enough money to fight for custody and to buy a house. Then, another naughty worker, Annette Nichols, was reported missing by her mother due to her not answering her mother's phone calls. Police would appeal for information from the public to try and find info for the recently missing girls, but this would unfortunately prove futile. On the 12th of December, a member of the public sees and reports the body of a white naked female. This was reported as the body of Paula Clennell. Paula's body points to the fact that she was disposed of quickly. She was in no body of water and was not posed in a crucifix position. She was dumped not far from where Annalie and Annette were, possibly a reason why he was in a hurry to leave. That or the new Fortnite event was starting soon. A police helicopter was brought to the crime scene this time, and after scanning the surrounding area, they found the body of Annette, who was positioned in a cruciform position. Once again, we shall hand this over to Drained, who's at the scene now. Take it away, Drained, or whatever. I am currently in Nacton. Well, Nacton's up a little bit that way, but after doing a bit of research, I found if you head a little bit up, this was the woodland area where Annalie's body was discovered. Yes, I am by the side of the road again, so forgive me for the cuts, but yes, this is where Annalie Alderton's body was discovered on the 10th of December, just 2 days after Tanya's. This was where a motorcyclist was driving down and saw the body of Annalie on the side of the road. Now, Annalie was 24 and was the first victim to not be found in a body of water. She was on the side of the road, probably over here in the woodland area, and was in a cruciform position like she was on the cross. So yes, this is near Nacton, just outside, and this is where the body of Annalie Alderton was discovered. I'm here in Livington. So, I don't think, like all of these other places I've been at, apart from the third location, I don't think that it was obviously here. I think it was up this road to the A1156, and that is where the bodies of Annette Nichols and Paula Clennell were discovered. They were the last two victims, and they were both found on the 12th. They were discovered because Paula was found on the side of the road, and the police got a helicopter in to search the local area where they found Annette. Annette was 29 and Paula was 24, and they were both outside of this village of Livington. So yes, that is all the locations for all the victims, all 5 here in Ipswich in different locations. A lot of walking for me. I think probably in total about 10 hours of walking. My legs are killing me. But yes, rest in peace to all the victims, and let's continue with the video. Another worker who was almost a victim was Tracy Russell. Tracy went back to Steve's apartment as she, like all the other women of the night, knew him. In his apartment, she sensed he was off. The once nicely groomed man that wore nice trousers and a jumper was in joggers and looked clammy. She continued to his room, but Wright strangely told her he didn't want to rush and to take her time. He even said he would pay her extra, something strange considering Steve was known as a cheapskate and was even known to try and haggle the prices of the women down. In the room, Steve pinned her down to the bed hard enough to frighten her. His demeanour had shifted and his face darkened. Suddenly, they heard a loud bang that sounded like a car door. Wright immediately ordered Tracy out and practically threw her out of the flat. It's unknown as to what the bang was, possibly Pamela getting home early, but whatever the noise was, it most likely saved Tracy's life. With Steve's major crimes out of the way, now let's continue to his arrests and his prison time. After having no leads, DNA evidence would prove to be the downfall of Steve. The police had obtained some DNA from the bodies of Annalie, Paula, and Annette, as they were not in water, and so the forensic evidence on them wasn't destroyed. Take notes, people. After being processed, it was the same profile of Steve Wright. Steve had been dealt with in the past for theft while working as a barman in 2001. If it wasn't for this, police may have never found him. Police went to his address on the 19th of December and was arrested early in the morning while Steve was getting ready for work. Steve didn't say anything whilst in custody and remained silent while being interviewed, refusing to comment. His excuse being that he did pick up the girls, but then let them go 5 minutes later, either changing his mind or being done with them. Steve was actually the second suspect to be arrested, and after his arrest, the other suspect was released. Once images had emerged in the media, once again, who is texting me? Once again, people were shocked by the Suffolk Strangler's image. An overweight, slightly balding, middle-aged... Well, I wouldn't say slightly. An overweight, slightly balding, middle-aged man with a partner. I find it more shocking he even had a partner. Police would find fibre evidence from his car and CCTV footage of his car picking up women of the night. With all this, police would have evidence linking Wright to all of the girls. In court, Steve would put up no kind of defence and commonly answer the prosecutor's questions with, "It appears so, yes." After more than 5 weeks at trial, the jury would give a unanimous verdict of guilty and he would be given life imprisonment on the 21st of February 2008. With that arrest and prison time over, let's just go straight on to possible motive. All these attacks would be committed when Steve was in his late 40s, which is pretty late age for a serial killer to begin their crimes statistically. The fact Steve removed 5 women in just 5 weeks, it's very strange for a man to just suddenly commit. So it's possible he committed others in the past? Maybe. Unfortunately, we do not know. A possible motive could be Steve wanting to find excitement and finding it in his crimes, and finding pleasure in it. It could also be a hatred that Steve had for women, possibly because of his mother leaving at such a young age. With the possible motive and arrest in prison time and all that out of the way, let's move on to some fun facts. It is so hot in here. What the hell? The first fun fact is when dumping Gemma's body, he may have actually driven past her boyfriend who was out looking for her. This was said on the Serial Killer podcast on Spotify. Very good podcast. Check it out. Steve wore a pair of garden gloves to strangle and dump his victims. One night, as Steve and Pamela were watching the news about Gemma and Tanya's disappearance, Pamela commented about how awful it was. Steve was not looking away from the TV and said, "They're probably together somewhere." This again was on the Serial Killer podcast on Spotify. Wright gave Pamela her own personal whistle and told her to not take the rubbish out and let him do it to make her feel safe from the Suffolk Strangler. Fourth victim, Paula Clennell, actually gave an interview to a TV network after they found Gemma's body, where she admitted she was very wary of getting into clients' cars, but would probably keep going and working as she needed the money. She was recorded from behind to conceal her identity. This again was said on the Serial Killer podcast on Spotify. And the final fun fact is that I have been doing this entire video with my dogs out. That is most of the info about Steve Wright, the Suffolk Strangler, or in this case, Steve Wrong. No! No. This arsehole will be locked up for the rest of his life, and rightly so, and he will not see the light of day anytime soon. In respect to all of the victims, I will be putting their names at the end of this video on screen for you to read. Shut up, I'm recording. Here are all of my sources on screen now. And with that being said, thank you all so much for watching another video. Make sure to like and subscribe. It really does help. I hope you enjoyed this video. You know, I put a lot of time and effort into it. Go out to the places and see everything. So I hope that switch up was making it entertaining for you. Once again, make sure to like and subscribe. Leave a comment. It really does help the channel grow. Yeah, it really does help the channel grow and be put out to all the other people in this wonderful world. Make sure to leave a comment on anything else you'd like to see, any way I can improve, anything else you'd like to see. I still have plans, but if there are any ideas, I would be happy to make note of them. And with all that, thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Stay safe out there, because you never know who's out there.